Under a sky thick with stars, just beyond the shattered remains of what was once a castle, the scars of a brutal battle still linger. Broken stone, scorched earth, silence heavy with aftermath. Then movement. A hand punches up through the rubble. Stone shifts. Dust spills. And a man drags himself free, coughing, clawing his way into the cold night air. He stands there, unsteady, using his sword as a crutch just to stay upright, breath ragged, chest burning. Even a star buried deep in darkness, unseen, forgotten, remains a star, so long as it clings to its light, and still yearns to shine. The words aren't subtle. They belong to the man now standing alone among ruins. His grip tightens on the sword. The world fades. Still staring at it, huh? The voice snaps him out of his thoughts. Annoyance flickers across his face as he turns. A woman stands there, arms crossed, wearing a knowing smirk like she caught him doing something embarrassing. Her name is Zemina. She tilts her head. Figured I'd find you here again. The man, Vlad, we now learn, scowls. You didn't have to interrupt. Zemina chuckles, clearly enjoying this. You've been spacing out way more than usual lately. Vlad snaps back immediately. Don't push your luck. I barely get a moment to breathe as it is. But Zemina doesn't flinch. She shrugs casually and drops the tone altogether. People've been talking about you. That lands. Vlad stiffens. Talking about what? Realizing she let that slip, Zemina freezes. Her confidence cracks. She turns away a little too fast, suddenly fascinated by anything that isn't Vlad. I mean, never mind. Forget it. Then, quickly, she pivots. So, you still hear voices every time you pick up a stick? No answer. Vlad just stares ahead, eyes unfocused. That's all the answer she needs. Zemina exhales slowly. Seriously, what kind of awful things did you even do in a past life? She reminds him of the day it happened. A clear sky. No storm. No clouds. And yet black lightning. It struck Vlad out of nowhere. An impossibly rare omen. The kind people whisper about, not the kind they forget. Her voice lowers. You should lay low for a while. Then the real warning comes. There's a new bishop in town. Former heresy inquisitor. The scary kind. He's got instincts for this stuff, supernatural, cursed, anything out of line. She looks straight at Vlad. If he decides you're suspicious, he won't hesitate. You'll be on a stake before anyone even asks questions. The weight of it crushes him. Vlad's shoulders sink. The danger feels real now, closer than ever. And it hurts more than he expects that Zemina would throw it in his face so bluntly. But she rushes to explain. I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm worried about you. People saw the lightning. Ever since then, rumors won't stop. She gestures at the sword. And you standing out here every day, staring at that thing? That's not helping. The church is always watching. Always. Still, Vlad doesn't move. I'm not a criminal. He mutters. I'm allowed to admire a sword. That's it. Zemina finally snaps. You're hopeless. She groans. At this point, you might as well just buy the damn thing. Vlad lets out a dry laugh. With what money? She scoffs. Come on. It can't be that expensive. Looks like something a back-alley blacksmith threw together. Vlad finally looks at her. It's 5 gold. Silence. 5? Zemina's eyes go wide. 5 gold? She recoils like she's been slapped. That's insane. For that? She immediately starts listing everything that money could buy. Food, clothes, rent, clearly regretting her offer. Vlad smirks. You wouldn't have to lift a finger for an entire year. Their banter is cut short by a thunderous shout. Hey! A harsh, furious voice tears through the street. An old man storms toward them, broad-shouldered, rugged, clothes stained with soot and iron. One look is enough. The blacksmith. You two got a lot of nerve. He snarls. That sword isn't meant for street trash like you. Get lost. Zemina immediately fires back. Then who exactly do you expect to buy it, huh? Knights don't come shopping in the slums. She crosses her arms, tone dripping with mockery. Or have you finally lost your mind, old man? That's the wrong word. The blacksmith's face turns crimson. Old? You've got no respect. Zemina grins. Maybe if you weren't on your last legs, you wouldn't be stuck forging for knights who barely remember your name. A vein nearly bursts in his forehead. You're damn right. He roars. And you, dumb brat, get back to your shop and scrub dishes where you belong. Zemina fumes. Quiet, but deadly. I'm not a child. She snaps. I'm a grown woman. The argument crackles with heat. Before it explodes, Vlad grabs Zemina's arm and pulls her away. She jerks free, still seething. I didn't say anything wrong. Behind them, The blacksmith keeps shouting, venomous words trailing like thrown stones. He calls her rotten. Ungrateful. Remembers aloud how he used to spoil her when they were starving, when scraps were all they had. Then his eyes drop. The ground. Deep footprints where Vlad had been standing, pressed there from hours of stillness. He scoffs quietly. That boy should be working instead of dreaming. With a heavy sigh, he finally takes the sword off the wall. His last creation. He decides it's time to let it go. To sell it to someone who might actually use it. Kids from the slums don't grow up to be anything. Still, as he holds the blade, he can't shake the thought. Vlad is just like this sword. A hidden brilliance buried in dirt. The view pulls back, revealing Sora, the heart of the northern region, home of the powerful Bayezid family. A city known as the Lighthouse of the North, brilliant, radiant, impossible to ignore. And yet, even the brightest light casts the darkest shadows. Down below, in the depths of the slums, gather the discarded, the forgotten, the unwanted. Inside a dim, filthy tavern, the air is thick with smoke, sweat, and cheap alcohol. Men laugh loudly, cups slam against tables, hands wander where they shouldn't. Women flirt half-heartedly, smiles practiced, eyes tired. Then chaos snaps the mood in half. A shirtless man suddenly lunges forward and yanks a woman by the hair, dragging her toward him. You think I wouldn't notice? He roars. Trying to scam me? The woman cries out, grabbing at his wrist. I didn't scam anyone. I swear. But he's already convinced. He sneers down at her, breath reeking of liquor. Fake medicine. That's what you sold me. I've been a mercenary for 20 years. I know fraud when I see it. That's when Vlad enters. He doesn't rush. He doesn't shout. He simply walks toward the noise, eyes sharp, drawn by instinct alone. The mercenary spots him instantly. Oh, look who it is. He sneers. The candle maker. He jerks his head toward the stairs. Go fetch your madam. Vlad stares at him, completely unimpressed. Gold, he says flatly. Silver won't do. That sets the man off. Gold? He bellows. You've got some nerve charging gold when this dump barely runs. If the madam's not around, bring your mom instead. The room goes quiet. The mercenary keeps going, emboldened. Hell, even those damn time candles are a scam. Burn out too fast. Vlad doesn't blink. Then you should have paid for a longer burn. He replies coldly. Or maybe spend the night in your own wife's bed instead. That's it. The mercenary twitches, veins bulging. But Vlad cuts him before fists fly. Let's settle this properly. The man pauses. We'll test the candles. Right here. Vlad gestures calmly. If they're faulty, you can do whatever you want with her. The mercenary hesitates. Vlad steps closer. His blue eyes harden, icy, dangerous. But if they work, Vlad continues, voice low. I'll beat you down myself, right now. Something in Vlad's stare makes the mercenary swallow. Slowly, he lights the candle. They wait. 5 minutes pass. The flame burns steadily, then goes out exactly on time. The mercenary barely has time to process it. Crack. Vlad slams a wooden staff straight into his face. Blood sprays. The man staggers back, howling. See? Vlad says evenly. Works just fine. Without hesitation, Vlad kicks him square in the back and sends him crashing into a side room. He follows, slamming the door shut and locking it behind them. You're dead, Vlad says quietly. Inside, the mercenary collapses, clutching his shattered nose. Please stop! Vlad doesn't. He beats him again and again. Not just for accusing the shop, but for speaking about his mother without a shred of respect. The pounding echoes through the tavern, and out into the street. Morning comes. Over breakfast, Vlad casually mentions to Jorge that someone tampered with the candles. Madame Marcella hears him, and explodes. Who? She snaps. Who dares mess with my business? Find them. Vlad blinks. I don't even know where to start. Marcella grins. Doesn't matter. I already did. She leans in. It was me. She'd shortened the candles on purpose, swindling drunk customers for extra coin. For someone ruling the streets of a rundown district, she's shockingly beautiful. When she admits it so casually, Vlad is stunned. He'd nearly killed a man for nothing. Still, as he heads downstairs, he pushes the guilt aside. Just doing my job. A group of men approaches him outside. Their leader slaps Vlad on the back. He hooks an arm around Vlad's neck, friendly but firm. Heard you made some good coin. Mind sharing? Vlad snaps his head toward him. Back off, Burly. His eyes glow with warning. Burly laughs. Relax. I'm not scared. Then he grins. Besides, I've got something to trade. He yanks a boy forward by the hair. Useless little thief. Vlad stiffens. He recognizes the kid instantly. 40 silver, Burley says. He's yours. Vlad's voice drops. Fingers intact? Ankles? Burley nods. Didn't maim him. Just taught him a lesson. Vlad hands over the silver. Next time, deal with thieves yourselves. The boy looks horrified. Burley laughs. We're not killers. As they leave, Vlad mutters. You're cheating your own people. Burley doesn't care. He's already pocketing the money. Left alone, Vlad turns to the boy. Ned? What were you thinking? I tried to be careful. Ned whispers. Vlad sighs, checks him over. You're fine. Get lost. Ned bows gratefully and runs. Vlad exhales. 5 gold, even farther away now. Later, Vlad visits Harvin, a man under the infamous Captain Hoover, the whale hunter. Vlad mentions Ned, saying the kid didn't lose any fingers. Harvin's eyebrows rise. Lucky. He remembers when he wasn't. As a kid, he lost fingers, ankles slashed for stealing. Vlad and Zemina had watched him bleed back then, made an example for everyone. Harvin shifts the topic. Heard about the candles. Vlad freezes. Already? Word's spreading. Harvin says. They say Marcella's cheating customers. He scoffs. Don't buy it. Vlad nods. Neither do I. But Jorge's suspicious too. Harvin studies him. If someone's gathering money fast, there's only one reason. Vlad frowns. Which is? Harvin locks eyes with him. War. Then he names them, one by one. Jorge the worst knight. Black Bear the swine butcher. Dice the gambler. Captain Hoover, the whale hunter. And One-Armed Jack, the money bug. The 5 kings of Sora's slums. Darkness is closing in around Vlad. And he doesn't even realize how deep he's fallen. Until the money bug and his crew step into his shop, asking for his boss. Vlad just stares stunned. He never expected Money Bug himself to show up. His eyes drift instinctively toward One-Armed Jack. Could the war already be in motion? He's snapped out of it when one of Money Bug's men barks at him. A scar-faced thug with a ponytail steps forward, calling Vlad a brat for standing there in silence. He demands to know where his boss is. Vlad's expression hardens. Coolly, he replies that he doesn't know. He's just a guy who sells candles. The thug isn't satisfied. He insults Vlad again, then slams his fist onto the table, sending candles flying in every direction. Even then, Vlad doesn't flinch. He locks eyes with the man, refusing to show even a hint of fear. Around them, the workers, especially the women, freeze in terror. Eyes wide. Mouths agape. No one dares move, waiting to see what Vlad will do next. Suddenly, Vlad drops to one knee. Calmly, deliberately, he begins gathering the broken, expensive candles scattered across the floor. As if to provoke the ponytailed thug further, he casually announces that the shop is closed for the day. That only fuels the man's anger. He's clearly not used to being ignored. As Vlad keeps picking up the candles, he tells the thug to move his feet out of the way. That's the last straw. The thug tries to kick Vlad while he's crouched down, but quick as a flash, Vlad counters with a strike from his wooden staff, smashing the man's leg mid-attack. The thug stumbles. Vlad follows up with a clean, powerful blow to the face, knocking him flat onto the floor. Everyone is stunned. No one expected that. No one, except Moneybug. He's grinning, clearly entertained. Vlad stands tall, his glowing blue eyes locked on the thug below him. He presses his staff against the man's face. The message is silent, but unmistakable. In the back alleys, only the strong stand tall. Moneybug's men bristle, ready to retaliate, but their boss raises his hook, signaling them to stop. Confused, they watch as the towering crime lord breaks into applause, one hand clapping, the other, a hook. He's impressed. Moneybug comments jokingly about the noise, and Vlad replies that he doesn't discriminate against the disabled. No hesitation. No filter. Instead of taking offense, Moneybug bursts into laughter. The blunt honesty only amuses him more. He steps closer, touches Vlad's face with his hook, asking if Vlad remembers who he once took from him. Vlad fires back that whoever it was must have died early, because he doesn't remember. Before Moneybug can respond, one of his men urgently calls out. Both he and Vlad turn. Standing before them is Jorge, flanked by his men. Jorge greets Moneybug with a sly remark, saying he would have grilled some meat if he'd known the big man was coming. Moneybug brushes it off, reminding Jorge they're not exactly on friendly terms. Still, Jorge plays the host and invites him upstairs. Jack says he'd rather have good liquor than meat. Jorge's green eyes flash dangerously as he assures him that Marcella never disappoints when it comes to hospitality. Moneybug's red eyes gleam with the same deadly edge as he agrees to sample the drink. One of Moneybug's crew helps the ponytailed thug back onto his feet, and the entire group heads upstairs. Once they're gone, the thick tension finally breaks. Vlad releases a deep breath, realizing how close he came to serious trouble. He finishes collecting the broken candles and quietly counts how many were shattered in the chaos. Then Moneybug calls out to him, referring to him as a shining star. Their meeting with Jorge and Marcela is over, and they're about to leave. Moneybug tells Vlad that both Jorge and Marcela had nothing but praise for him. He says he's seen Vlad's potential firsthand and offers him an open invitation. If Vlad ever grows tired of the candle business, he's welcome to join his crew. Vlad politely declines. He says he's content with his current job. It's simple, but it provides food, shelter, and stability. Moneybug chuckles, saying he can offer all that, and more. Without another word, he tosses Vlad a gold coin for the broken candles. Vlad is stunned. It's far too generous. Moneybug insists, saying there's plenty more where that came from if Vlad ever changes his mind. He reminds him of his nickname, Moneybug, before thanking Jorge for the meal and walking off with his gang. As Vlad watches him leave, he notices how cheerful the man looks, making him wonder how that meeting truly went. That's when Zemina's voice calls down from above. Jorge wants to see him. Later, Vlad stands with Jorge and Marcela in the same room. Vlad remains silent, his eyes fixed on something that clearly caught him off guard. A knife, rare, valuable. Jorge notices his reaction and admits he planned to gift it to Vlad later, but with how things are unfolding, now is the time. He urges Vlad to keep it on him at all times. Vlad accepts the dagger. The heavy atmosphere makes it clear that things haven't gone well. He glances around the room. The mood is grim. Everyone looks weighed down. Something is wrong. Then Jorge drops another bombshell. Vlad should stop selling candles. Confused, Vlad asks what he's supposed to do instead. Jorge explains that they've received a tip. One-armed Jack is sneaking outsiders into the slums. Not just anyone, mercenaries. Likely former knights. Alarmed, Vlad comments that these men sound like Jorge. Jorge nods grimly. Jack was already dangerous with the muscle he had. But now, with seasoned fighters who rival knights in skill, everything has changed. The fragile balance is gone. Jorge admits they're already on the losing side. That's why they need Vlad. They believe in his potential. To prove it, Jorge tells him his first mission is coming soon. The news leaves Vlad stunned. He wasn't expecting this so quickly. As he processes it all, he thinks of Harvin, a man with no fingers and damaged legs who still climbed upward through sheer intellect and grit. Harvin mastered language and numbers, carving out his place under Captain Hoover. To Vlad, he's proof that effort and learning can change everything. With that thought in mind, Vlad trains with his wooden staff. Then the voice returns, quiet, precise, suggesting he adjust his elbow angle. The advice is exact, and instantly, Vlad gets annoyed. The voice is back again. You're probably wondering how Vlad ended up hearing voices in his head every time he trains. It all started a month ago. Right after Vlad was struck by a bolt of pitch-black lightning. Since that day, an eerie voice, one he's come to call demonic whispers, has echoed inside his mind whenever he grips a sword, or anything even remotely close to one. The presence annoys him to no end. He's tried to shut it out, even muttering that he should buy holy water before he ever dares to pick up the sword from the blacksmith again. Determined not to engage with it, Vlad grips his wooden staff once more, vowing not to respond no matter what it says. He steadies his breathing, focuses his mind, channels his strength. He raises the staff, preparing to strike. And just before he brings it down, the voice cuts in again. Adjust your elbow angle. Vlad hesitates. Then, against his better judgment, he follows the advice. The result shocks him. The strike lands smoother, cleaner, more precise. It feels natural, almost instinctive, like he's wielding an actual blade instead of a wooden staff. The realization hits him hard. This path might actually lead to mastery. For a brief moment, it feels as though he's holding a real sword in his hands. And that only deepens the question gnawing at him. What exactly has wormed its way into his head? The scene shifts. A snowy mountain range, wind howling across jagged peaks. A man calmly wipes blood from his blade. He mutters to himself, remarking that experience can't be faked, admitting that he can now feel the winter's chill deep in his bones. His gear gives him away instantly. A knight, hearing rustling nearby, he smirks. Either reckless, he says, or just plain foolish, thinking you could deceive me. The white-haired knight steps toward the sound. Show yourself. After a brief pause, a voice responds, asking if he is Sir Stanga, the scar-faced knight. The figure steps into view. Stanga recognizes him immediately. The distinct blonde hair, the piercing blue eyes. It's Vlad. He's heard the rumors, especially from the slums. The boy's name has been surfacing more and more lately. Stanga remarks that with looks like his, anyone unfamiliar might mistake Vlad for a noble. Vlad doesn't respond. Instead, he gets straight to the point. He hands over a sealed letter from his superior. Stanga opens it. His eyes scan the contents, and a faint smile forms on his lips. Amused. As he reads on, it becomes clear. The opposing side has a mercenary who once served as a knight. Now he understands why Jorge reached out for his help. With Stanga now informed, Vlad explains that he's been assigned as the knight's guide back to Jorge. He estimates they can reach their destination within 2 nights. Vlad turns, ready to lead the way. But instead of following, Stanga smirks. There's no way I'd trust someone as dumb as you to guide me. Vlad keeps his tone steady, insisting he's at least capable of getting them back safely. Stanga scoffs again, saying anyone foolish enough to attempt this can't possibly be smart. Vlad bristles, ready to snap back, but Stanga stares him down with piercing purple eyes. For a moment, Vlad is left speechless. Eventually, Stanga relents. He'll follow, but with one condition. If you forget even part of the route, he says coldly, I'll kill you. Vlad narrows his eyes unfazed. Then keep up, he replies. I won't let my first mission fail. Without waiting for a response, Vlad turns and starts walking. Stanga watches him go, surprised. Even after all that intimidation, the boy didn't flinch. Didn't even acknowledge the threat. That boldness. Stanga realizes. That must be what Jorge sees in him. They've only just met, but already, Stanga senses potential in the boy. A fire worth feeding. Later that night, they rest inside a small cave. A fire crackles between them as they sit in silence, the air thick with awkward tension. After a while, Stanga catches Vlad sneaking glances at him. Annoyed, he snaps, asking why Vlad keeps staring like he's never seen a retired knight before. Vlad admits that he actually hasn't. Stanga raises an eyebrow, asking if Vlad is some clueless country bumpkin. Vlad doesn't answer. Instead, he flips the question back, asking where the knight is from. Dikia, Stanga replies. Vlad blurts out that it sounds rural. The knight doesn't take that well. Clearly insulted, he quickly changes the subject, fixing Vlad with another deadly glare. If we get lost, he repeats, I'll cut you in half. He means it. But just like before, Vlad doesn't react. Calmly, he tells Stanga to stop saying such terrifying things as he unwraps some beef jerky. Then he adds that every night's joke is really just a threat in disguise. Stanga doesn't respond. His attention shifts to the food. He eyes the jerky, noting how fresh it looks, and asks if there's a portion for him. Vlad answers without hesitation. Jorge didn't give him any extra. Then he turns the question around, asking if Stanga brought anything to eat. The knight shows a few scraps of meat, unimpressed with his own supply. Meanwhile, Vlad skewers his jerky and starts roasting it over the fire. The aroma fills the cave. Stanga's mouth begins to water. Finally, in a moment of desperation, the knight proposes a deal. He'll answer any question Vlad has, in exchange for a piece of jerky. He calls it a rare opportunity and urges Vlad to take advantage of it. With a mouth full of meat, Vlad considers the offer. Then, completely unfazed, he asks how many pieces the knight wants. He adds that Stanga could have just asked if he wanted some. Stanga scowls, clearly offended. He tells Vlad that his pride won't allow him to beg for food. Knights, he explains, live by a code. They only receive something if they give something in return. Folding his arms and closing his eyes, he makes it clear, he won't budge. Vlad calmly reminds him that he's retired now. Stanga doesn't care. He's lived by that code his entire life, and he has no intention of changing it. So Vlad agrees to the deal. He starts simple. What's your name? Stanga gives it. Next question. Your age? 42. That's when it hits him. Vlad never handed over any jerky. Annoyed, Stanga glares at him and calls him a brat. Vlad brushes it off and moves straight to his next question, unfazed. He asks if the retired knight can actually use aura. Stanga chuckles. He says Vlad may look innocent, but he clearly knows far more than he lets on. Then he explains, having aura and being able to control it are two very different things. Not every knight is capable of using it. Sensing he's dodging the question, Vlad presses him directly. Can you use aura or not? Stanga simply smiles and pauses. The silence stretches long enough that Vlad grows desperate for an answer. Finally, he offers all of his beef jerky in exchange. After stalling just a bit longer, Stanga reminds him that a true knight only takes something when something is offered in return. Then, instead of answering, he decides to show him. Stanga pulls out his sword and grips it tightly in front of him. He shuts his scarred left eye. Curious, Vlad asks why. Stanga replies that he must summon his inner world, deep within his soul. His closed eye begins to glow with a faint blue hue. Pay attention, he says. The sword starts glowing too, emitting a radiant blue light. This, Stanga declares, is the soul of a knight. The light intensifies, shining so brightly that Vlad has to shield his face. Later that night, the two head toward the city. Stanga starts complaining, saying he feels awful. Vlad assumes he's talking about their ragged appearance, and says it's better to look dirty and blend in rather than look like knights and draw attention. But that's not what Stanga means. He's talking about his pride. He grumbles about sneaking in through a hole in the wall, clearly irritated. Vlad explains that he was ordered to bring him in quietly, and using the main gate would defeat the purpose. Even after hearing that, Stanga continues sulking like a child. Vlad urges him to keep moving and promises to prepare a nice bath as a reward. As they pass through the hidden route, Stanga suddenly comments on how eerily silent it is. The stillness unsettles him. Vlad shrugs it off, saying it's just the time of night, everything's asleep. Then they stop. Several lifeless bodies lie ahead. Stanga asks if this is a normal sight around here. Vlad answers immediately, it isn't. From the scene, he guesses the men probably killed each other. Without wasting time, Vlad suggests they split up. He offers to tell Stanga the location of a secret back entrance used only by members of his organization. Concerned, Stanga asks where Vlad plans to go. Vlad explains he'll head through the main gate instead. It'll draw attention away from the real path. As he walks off, Vlad tells him they'll regroup soon. Later, Vlad reaches the shop, and freezes. It's in ruins. The place has been torn apart. Among the wreckage, he finds Jorge badly injured, wrapped in bandages, with Marcela tending to him. When Jorge sees Vlad, he greets him warmly, relieved that he made it back alive. Then he shares the grim news. Moneybug was the one who attacked them. Jorge had suspected as much. Those with wealth often possess power far beyond the norm. Vlad anxiously asks if he's alright. Jorge admits it's been a long time since he fought someone at night level, and the clash left him severely wounded. Still, he's focused on something else. Did you bring Stanga? Vlad confirms that he found the retired knight, but explains they had to separate because the main gate was under surveillance. He adds that he gave Stanga directions to the back entrance, and believes he should have arrived by now. Pleased, Jorge reveals their plan, to strike Moneybug the next day and end everything once and for all. He asks how Stanga looked. Vlad says the knight seemed well. He even mentions that Stanga appears to be a good man. Jorge nods. Stanga has a solid heart. Vlad adds that he's surprisingly agile. Jorge wonders aloud if Stanga has lost weight, joking that staying fit is the secret to a long life. Then Vlad shares what may be the most important detail of all. He now knows that Stanga can use aura. That alone fills him with hope that they'll win the coming fight. Instead of relief, Jorge is stunned. He can't believe Stanga has that kind of power. Just then, Vlad hears footsteps and assumes Stanga has arrived. He moves to go check, but Jorge stops him. Are you absolutely sure that he can use aura? Suddenly, Jorge draws his sword and orders Vlad to stay behind him. Then comes the chilling truth. Stanga doesn't know how to use aura at all. Before Vlad can process what that means, the so-called knight steps into view. His coat and sword are drenched in blood. The imposter greets Jorge with a sinister tone. It's been a long time. We flash back to the snowy mountains. After finishing off someone, the imposter wipes blood from his blade. Speaking coldly to the corpse, he mocks the man's age, saying the winter wind must have finally crept into his bones. Back in the present, the imposter wears a twisted smile, noting how much Jorge has changed. Jorge demands to know why he's resurfaced now. The man answers calmly. Count Gaidar is dead. The news visibly rattles Jorge. The imposter continues, explaining that the death hasn't been officially announced yet due to certain complications, but soon enough, the truth will spread. The purple-eyed knight pours himself a drink and begins mocking the late Count Gaidar. He raises the glass in a cruel toast, fully aware it will strike a nerve. It does. Jorge boils over. He curses the man and draws his sword, charging straight at him. The imposter doesn't flinch. He simply raises the glass higher, provoking him further. Just as Jorge's blade is about to connect, the imposter vanishes in a blink, moving so fast it stuns everyone present. In the same motion, he shatters the glass with his sword and grins mockingly. A toast, he says, to Sigmund, the new Count Gaidar. The insult cuts deeper than steel. Jorge realizes the truth. This man isn't just mocking the fallen Count Gaidar. He's celebrating the rise of someone far worse. Already wounded, Jorge spins and swings again at the imposter, Godin. Godin meets the strike head-on. Their blades clash with violent force. As they exchange blows, Godin reveals Count Sigmund's first command. The deserter knight Jorge is to be brought back immediately. Jorge refuses without hesitation. Sigmund is no lord of his, and he will never follow his orders. Godin smirks. He admits the Count never expected Jorge to return willingly, or even to survive this encounter. The duel escalates. Both men unleash powerful strikes, but Godin's speed gives him the edge. He slips past a slash aimed at his legs and narrowly avoids a heavy blow meant for his chest. As the battle intensifies, Vlad turns to Marcela. This isn't safe, he tells her urgently. You need to get out. He grabs her hand and rushes her outside, knowing things are about to spiral out of control. Downstairs, the men shout up, demanding to know what's happening. Vlad spots Burley and orders him to gather everyone and head upstairs. He tries to explain that their boss is in a serious fight. But before he can finish, Jorge crashes down from above. Vlad and Marcella freeze in horror. The others stare wide-eyed as Jorge plummets from the upper floor. Just before he hits the ground, Godin bursts through the wall, mocking Jorge for continuing to make such foolish choices. Then Jorge slams into the floor with brutal force. The men rush forward, stunned and confused. Their shock is cut short when Jorge coughs, struggling to move. Above them, Godin looks down, purple eyes cold and calculating, waiting to see what Jorge will do next. That's when a dagger slices through the air. Vlad's dagger, the very one Jorge gave him. Godin deflects it at the last second, knocking it aside with his sword. The blade clatters across the wooden floor. Now it's Vlad's turn to meet Godin's gaze. Blue eyes locked in defiance. Without a word, Godin leaps down, sword raised high, aiming to finish Jorge off. Vlad shouts for Jorge to move, begging him to get out of the way. At the last possible moment, Jorge forces his battered body to respond, leaping aside as Godin's blade crashes into the ground where he'd been. Jorge drops to his knees again. Gripping his sword, Godin straightens and asks why Jorge refused to follow the orders he was once given. Jorge answers firmly. He couldn't obey something so cruel. He's human. He has a conscience. Godin cuts him off coldly. He reminds Jorge that he's a knight, not just a man. That it's nerve, not morality. Jorge growls in fury as his comrades rally behind him. Godin surveys them, then sighs. Outnumbered, he decides he's had enough of this drawn-out battle. Closing his left eye, he mutters that all he wants now is peace. Vlad recognizes the signal instantly. He sprints forward, desperate to stop what's coming. But it's too late. Godin's eye and sword ignite as his aura surges to life. Blue, lion-shaped marks blaze into existence on Jorge and his men. They are the chosen targets. The energy detonates in a blinding flash. Vlad is thrown back violently as the wave obliterates everything around Jorge. When the dust settles, silence reigns. Jorge's men lie motionless, bloodied. Godin is gone. Jorge groans weakly, barely able to move. His eyes scan the scene, and the realization crushes him. Everyone is gone. Blood drips from his face as his gaze falls to the floor. He is broken. Vlad stares at the aftermath in disbelief. Memories flood his mind. Jorge was the one who found him on the streets. The first person to believe in him. The man who raised him to be strong, to be someone. And now that pillar had been destroyed. Under the haunting glow of the blue moon, Godin appears once more. This time, he's holding Jorge's severed head. Vlad freezes. Some part of him still hopes it isn't real, but the truth is undeniable. His world has crumbled, at the hands of the monster he welcomed into his life. Overwhelmed by grief, Vlad grabs Jorge's sword and screams in pure agony. As he raises the blade in blind rage, a voice in his mind begs him to stop. He ignores it. He swings with everything he has. Godin dodges effortlessly. The attack itself isn't a threat, but what catches Godin's attention is Vlad's form. The swing follows the correct arc. That shouldn't be possible for a street rat from the slums. What Godin doesn't know is that this rat was once struck by jet black lightning. Despite his confusion, Godin is impressed. He says so aloud. Vlad doesn't care. He isn't here for praise. He's here for revenge. Fueled by rage, Vlad charges again, screaming for Godin to die. Godin fires an energy blast. Midair, Vlad twists instinctively and knocks it aside. Still, Godin lands a clean hit, powerful enough to send Vlad flying and force the sword from his grip. Godin stares in disbelief. He begins to realize the boy may have been born with something rare. Maybe that's why he moved the way he did, pure instinct. But instinct has a cost. Vlad's body can't keep up. He crashes to the ground, groaning in pain. The voice inside urges him to calm down, to breathe, to hold on. Clutching his side, Vlad curls inward, struggling to stay conscious. Godin watches in silence. He considers ending the boy right there, killing him before that potential can grow. But something stops him. Godin remembers something Jorge once said, about watching over those with promise. That memory draws a faint smile to his face. He looks down at Vlad, still trembling on the ground, and speaks calmly. A knight always settles the score fairly. Vlad looks up, confused. Then, without warning, Godin tosses him 2 pieces of beef jerky, the very same ones Vlad had shared back in the cave. Godin explains that his name was never Stanga. And he's definitely not 42. Vlad was shortchanged in that deal, so he's returning a couple of pieces to balance it out. Despite the gesture, Godin makes one thing unmistakably clear. He's taking Jorge's head with him. Godin speaks with smug certainty, declaring it his rightful prize, his reward as the victor. He locks eyes with Vlad, almost daring him to react. Boiling with rage, Vlad glares back and swears he'll kill him. Godin chuckles, unimpressed. Turning away, he delivers one final mockery. You shouldn't even think about asking for the rest of the beef jerky, he says, glancing back. Not in that pathetic state. With that, Godin starts walking away. Vlad, still on his knees, struggles to rise. His teeth clench. His voice shakes, but it's filled with fury. He repeats his vow. He will kill the man who took his master's life. Godin doesn't look back. He leaves the shop, carrying Jorge's head like a grim trophy, exiting through the gaping hole he made earlier. Vlad yells one last time, swearing that the day will come when he returns to settle the score. After the destruction, Zemina helps the injured Vlad to his feet. He groans in pain with every step, clutching his wound tightly. The agony overwhelms him, and he collapses to his knees again, drenched in sweat, gasping for air. The scene flashes back. Vlad is still inside the shop, curled on the floor. Marcella stands over him, glaring. She doesn't sugarcoat anything. Get up! When he doesn't respond, she slaps him hard across the face. She demands he pull himself together and fires off a question. Do you know what separates people in the heart of the city from those rotting in the slums? Vlad has no answer. He just stares at her, dazed, shaken, half expecting another blow. Marcella doesn't hesitate. The difference is opportunity, she says flatly. In the city, you can fail and still recover. You're allowed mistakes. She gestures at the ruined shop, the bodies of their fallen comrades scattered around. For people like us, she continues, one failure is all it takes to lose everything. Grabbing Vlad by the shoulders, Marcella locks eyes with him. Don't waste the one chance life gives you, she says. For people born into hardship, that moment may never come again. Back in the present, a new fire burns in Vlad's eyes. Zemina notices the pain he's in and gently asks if he's okay, suggesting they slow down. Vlad shakes his head. There's no time. Wiping sweat from his face, he forces himself up with Zemina's help. Just then, one of the enemy soldiers spots them. I found him! The man shouts. Jorge's little underling! Vlad's adrenaline surges. Moments ago, he could barely stand. Now he's running. Zemina runs too, and Vlad grabs her hand to make sure she isn't left behind. Move, he tells her. Now, their lives depend on it. They race through the alleys with blades at their backs. As they run, Vlad's thoughts shift. Their home is gone. Everything they knew has been destroyed. But maybe, just maybe, it's time to fly. Two young birds force from the nest, taking to the sky. They manage to slip away, disappearing into the chaos. Behind them, their pursuers curse and spin in confusion, shouting guesses about which path the kids took. One snarls, calling them little rats. Another swears they ducked into a different alley. The gang leader barks an order. Every corner must be searched. Whoever finds the kids gets a hefty reward. As he steps forward, his face comes into view. It's the ponytailed thug Vlad humiliated when Moneybug first arrived. That encounter didn't just bruise his pride, it cost him teeth. Now he's desperate for revenge. Hearing about the reward, the goons scatter eagerly, convinced the kids couldn't have gone far. Ironically, they rush right past the very door where Vlad and Zemina are hiding. Inside, the two sit in silence. Vlad grips his dagger, ready for the worst. Zemina stifles her sobs with both hands. Each fading footstep sharpens Vlad's realization. They won't last long like this. Sooner or later, someone will check more carefully. He tells Zemina to wait for a quiet moment, then slip out and escape. She immediately worries about what he plans to do. Vlad explains that moving together only raises the risk. It's too dangerous with the gang so close. But Zemina refuses. She insists on staying with him, reminding Vlad of the promise he made to Marcella. To get her somewhere safe before going off on his own. Vlad tries to reason with her. He tells Zemina to head for the convent before sunrise, or to Harvin, if she'd rather. Anywhere safe. Still, she refuses to move. She breaks down, throwing a fit, crying out that she doesn't want to be left behind. That's when Vlad finally loses his patience. He snaps. He calls her out for never listening. Calls her an idiot, harshly, deliberately, just to force the point through. Then he says the words that cut the deepest. I can't protect you right now. Zemina freezes. The shock of it hits her all at once, and tears spill from her eyes. And in that moment, the noise they've made comes back to haunt them. A voice suddenly calls out, demanding to know who's inside. Zemina stiffens. Then, acting on instinct, she snatches a knife from the floor, gripping it tight. A man steps into view from another room, holding a lamp. It's the blacksmith. He recognizes them immediately and asks what they're doing in his house. Zemina, true to form, starts mouthing off at once, calling him an old man and waving the knife in his direction. Unfazed, the blacksmith snaps back, asking what's wrong with her. He reminds them that they're the ones who broke into his home. Zemina ignores him completely, threatening to stab him if he so much as takes another step. But the blacksmith looks at her more closely. He sees it now. She's shaking. Not angry, terrified. Softening his tone, he tells her to calm down. To put the knife away. She refuses. Instead, she demands the sword. The one Vlad's always stared at. The blacksmith looks confused. Zemina clarifies she means the sword that used to hang outside. She insists they aren't safe anywhere else, and that they need it. Her voice makes it clear she's not bluffing. Vlad steps in, telling her to drop the knife. She ignores him. She screams at the blacksmith to hand over the weapon. The old man watches her, taking in the desperation in her eyes. To him, this is life in the slums. People grow up fighting for anything they can get their hands on. It's survival. He remembers being the same way once. After a long, heavy silence, he looks at her and says her situation is truly pitiful. A quiet refusal. That's what breaks her. Furious, Zemina lunges at him with the knife. The blacksmith closes his eyes, bracing for the worst. Even Vlad thinks she's about to stab him. But instead, she slashes her own hair. The blade cuts through her red locks, and they fall to the floor. The blacksmith's eyes fly open. Zemina steps forward, hands shaking, tears streaming down her face. She offers him her hair. She knows it isn't worth much, but she begs him to accept it. She promises she'll pay him back someday. All she wants is for Vlad to have the sword. Her desperation is raw. Undeniable. The blacksmith is left speechless. After a moment, he turns to Vlad and asks if he's really leaving the slums. Vlad says yes. Quietly, the old man admits that Vlad is doing what he never could, chasing a dream he carried his entire life. Now, it's Vlad's turn to take flight. Reluctantly, the blacksmith gives in. Moved by the determination he sees before him. The scene shifts. The old man pushes a wagon piled high with trash and dirt. Zemina walks behind him, her face hidden beneath a hood. He tells her this is the only way out. She complains about the smell. Suddenly, a group of thugs blocks their path. The blacksmith recognizes them immediately. They question why he's hauling garbage at this hour. He snaps back, cursing them out, blaming their recent street fight for blocking the alleys. He grumbles that his smithy's overflowing because he couldn't dump the trash earlier. Their leader's eyes drift to the hooded figure. Suspicious. The old man usually works alone. Thinking fast, the blacksmith lies. He says he gave some bread to a poor kid who offered to help because he was too tired. Unconvinced, the thug steps forward, knife in hand, and warns the hooded figure not to move as he reaches to lift the cloth. Zemina plays her part perfectly. Disguised as a scruffy boy with short ginger hair, she sells the act so well that the thug backs off. Before leaving, the blacksmith asks what they're really looking for. The thugs admit they're hunting Jorge's blonde-haired son. The blacksmith scoffs, but the leader insists on checking the cart. He orders one of his men to inspect it and tells the blacksmith to step aside. The old man doubts the route for a moment. Maybe they shouldn't have taken this alley. But they had no other choice. A thug rummages through the trash, commenting on how much there is. Then he notices something shift beneath the pile. Calmly, he says not to take it personally. It's just my job. Without warning, he drives a staff deep into the cart. The blacksmith and Zemina freeze in terror. Hidden beneath the dirt, Vlad braces himself. Then the thug casually brings up Harvin, putting a boat out on the water. He hints that there must be a reason for that. Tells the blacksmith to remember it. Then he declares that the 40 silver his younger brother Ned once owed has now been repaid. With that, he lets them go. It's clear he knew Vlad was hiding all along. But he chose to look the other way. A debt repaid. Soon after, Zemina and the blacksmith reach the outskirts of town, where garbage is dumped into a water channel flowing beyond the city walls. As they unload the cart, Zemina quietly says goodbye. The blacksmith watches her go. His thoughts drift to the sword Vlad now carries, a blade forged from his dreams. Paid for with a girl's tears. Now it rests in the hands of a boy stepping toward a far larger world. Vlad crawls out from beneath the dirt, gripping the sword tightly. He exhales, then finally speaks to the voice inside his head. Can you hear me? Yes. The voice answers. Curious, Vlad asks who, or what, the voice really is. It doesn't know. Despite its deep knowledge of swords, it has no memory of itself. Vlad considers this, then decides it might be for the best. He offers a simple proposal. He'll help the voice recover its memories. In return, it will be his sword from now on. He doesn't care if the voice belongs to the devil. He's already haunted by the fear that he may never be strong enough to stand against the godlike being who slaughtered his friends. Moved by Vlad's resolve, the voice tells him it's time. It will reveal the story behind the sword. The scene shifts to a snowy mountain range. Soldiers have set up camp beneath the banner of a noble house. Inside a command tent, A man carefully moves chess pieces across a map, clearly deep in strategy. "This is too easy," he mutters. The man is Joseph Bayezid, second son of the powerful Bayezid family. His eyes never leave the map as he repeats the thought. He's interrupted by the arrival of a subordinate, who greets him respectfully as young master and announces his return. Joseph looks up, a hint of warmth crossing his face. "Jaeger," he says. Jaeger, an eye-patched soldier with a stern demeanor, immediately senses something is wrong. He voices his concern, and Joseph admits it. The battle feels wrong. Everything has gone too smoothly. Jaeger begins his report, detailing their recent monster suppression efforts. The mission was successful, with only minor losses, just a handful of mercenaries. But Joseph is distracted. His thoughts are on the deserters. If word spreads, it could damage his credibility. His father and the vassals may begin questioning his leadership. And then there's his stepbrother, Ruttiger. Joseph is certain Ruttiger would seize any opportunity to undermine him. Jaeger remains silent as Joseph weighs his options. If Joseph fails to secure his future as the next count, chaos will follow. Joseph reflects on the Bayezid family legacy. Generations shaped by ruthless ambition. A culture that glorifies military might. He's seen it firsthand, watching his father and brothers claw at one another for power. Time is running out. And swordsmen are scarce. Aside from Jaeger, he has few he can truly rely on. That's when Jaeger steps forward with new information. Joseph's interest is instantly piqued. He demands to hear it. Jaeger explains that there's a particular soldier in the ranks who's caught his attention. Joseph immediately suspects a spy, possibly sent by Ruttiger. Jaeger doesn't deny the possibility, but says that isn't why the man stands out. He suggests Joseph see the soldier's work firsthand. The scene cuts to the mangled corpse of a goblin, hanging from a wooden structure. Joseph approaches, covering his nose as he inspects the remains. The wounds are crude. He guesses the strikes came from someone inexperienced, perhaps even a child. Jaeger leads him to more bodies. As they walk among the slain creatures, Joseph criticizes the injuries. Sloppy. Repetitive. Poorly executed. Then he stops. One corpse is different. A goblin lies split cleanly open, its torso sliced with precision. Joseph leans in, studying the cut. And then he notices something else. Despite the variation in quality, all the wounds follow the same pattern. They were made by the same person. Joseph turns to Jaeger. The one-eyed soldier nods. Then delivers the real surprise. The goblins with the sloppy wounds were killed a month ago. The ones they're examining now were killed just yesterday. Joseph is stunned. Someone who was swinging so crudely weeks ago has refined their technique this dramatically? It shouldn't be possible. And yet the proof stands before him. Intrigued, Joseph presses Jaeger for more details. The scene shifts again. A snowy forest. A battle in progress. Men fight desperately against goblins. One soldier, surrounded, fends them off with a spiked club, barely holding his ground. A voice shouts orders, demanding the men close ranks and ensure no goblins escape. Suddenly, another soldier with a spear steps forward, planting his foot atop a goblin corpse. "I can see the end," he shouts. "Finish this." But instead of responding, the others freeze. Their eyes are fixed on something behind him. A towering hobgoblin, red eyes burning, looms over him. Before he can speak, the monster slams its massive wooden club down. The impact sends snow exploding into the air. When it settles, the truth is horrifying. The man's skull has been driven straight into the ground. Fear grips the remaining soldiers, but they grit their teeth and stand firm. The creature roars. For a moment, they resist. Then the hobgoblin charges. Its assault is merciless. One by one, the soldiers fall. Those in the rear, witnessing their fifth formation being torn apart, finally break and flee. But they're slow, overweight. Their aging commander roars after them, barking orders, shouting that their pay is on the line. The mercenaries shout back. They signed up to fight men, not monsters like this. Maybe he should have hired top-tier fighters, or better yet, handled it himself. As the commander fumbles for his sword, trying to threaten the soldiers into holding formation, the hobgoblin slaughters them right in front of him. Death is everywhere. Frozen atop his horse, the commander is certain he's next. Then, someone steps out from the crowd. Calm. Unhurried. The soldiers whisper among themselves, disbelief spreading. Is that the praying Ryman? But we know better. It's Vlad, hiding behind another name. With quiet confidence, Vlad declares that he'll handle the monster alone. No one stops him. The hobgoblin notices him immediately and charges at full force. Vlad holds his ground. At the last possible moment, he strikes. The blade connects, but the cut is shallow. A miscalculation. That single mistake throws him off. Then the voice in his head shouts, "Dodge!" Vlad snaps back into focus and narrowly avoids the crushing blow of the club. Snow explodes into the air as he slides backward, boots carving lines through the ground. He steadies himself. He knows he messed up. The voice doesn't spare him, calling him a fool for failing a move he'd already been warned about. But Vlad knows the truth. No one masters something new instantly. As the hobgoblin charges again, Vlad digs his heels in. He isn't giving up. He's just taking the longer path to victory. The monster swings again, but Vlad slips out of reach, just like before. Each miss drives the creature into greater rage. With a furious roar, it slams its club into the ground, detonating a massive cloud of snow. As the white curtain settles, the hobgoblin freezes. Vlad is gone. That moment of confusion is all he needs. Vlad reappears, sword raised, now glowing faintly. He charges. The hobgoblin turns too late. This time, Vlad's strike lands clean. No hesitation. Elsewhere, Jaeger reports to Joseph. He speaks of a fighter known only as the Praying Ryman. The name immediately catches Joseph's interest. He orders an investigation at once. Jaeger places a hand to his chest and bows, his one good eye filled with resolve. He'll uncover the truth. No delays. After Jaeger leaves, Joseph remains behind, studying the mutilated goblin corpses in silence. The wounds from a month ago were crude, uneven. Now they're precise, lethal. It doesn't make sense. No one becomes a sword master in just a month. A faint smile crosses Joseph's face. Could this boy be a once-in-a-generation genius? Back on the battlefield, Vlad finishes the fight. He splits the hobgoblin clean in two. His eyes are sharp. Unreadable. He's no longer just fighting. He's walking the path of a true master. Later, high in the snowy mountains, mercenaries load hobgoblin corpses onto wagons. One complains about trash piling up on his side. Another says it's the same where he's working. They'd expected treasure, considering how many hobgoblins infested the forest. One of them calls out to their captain, Raymond. We know him as Vlad. He's just finished off a massive hobgoblin, and one mercenary can't stop talking about it. To him, Vlad's performance is nothing new. Every time monsters appear, Vlad steals the spotlight. Despite the praise, Vlad looks irritated rather than proud. He snaps at the man to shut up and focus on piling the bodies. The chatterbox smugly replies that no one would dare touch Vlad's kills anyway. Trying to keep the conversation going, the man asks what their next move is. The job's nearly done, and he's clearly hoping for more action alongside Vlad. One look at Vlad's expression should have been enough, but it isn't. The man keeps talking, bragging about how well they'd work together. His brain. Vlad's blade. That's the final straw. Vlad cuts him off, voice cold. He doesn't work with phonies. The man freezes stunned, then scrambles to recover. He says Vlad can't keep using the mercenary plaque forever. He even mentions knowing a decent blacksmith. Vlad explodes. He makes sure the man understands he isn't joking. Pointless chatter gets people killed. If this was a suggestion, fine, but if there's even a hint of a threat, Vlad will end him right there. Terrified, the man backpedals, insisting he only meant that someone with Vlad's skill deserves more than scraps. Vlad doesn't care. He tells him to shut up and get back to work, or lose his head. The man bolts without another word. Watching him go, Vlad reflects quietly. It's only a matter of time before he deals with that clingy tag-along for good. The others continue loading corpses. Vlad walks away alone, lost in thought. He drifts into the woods, and the mercenaries whisper among themselves. Maybe he's going to pray again. Apparently, he sneaks off like this often, so often that it started to impress them. Deep in the forest, Vlad drops to one knee and drives his sword into the earth. From afar, the others watch in awe. Some whisper that he must be of noble blood. He doesn't look like someone born into their brutal world. But Vlad isn't praying. Inside his sword, the voice is tearing into him. He's being absolutely roasted for failing to kill the hobgoblin in a single strike. The voice reminds him, mercilessly, that his one-hit technique only works when he has the element of surprise. And it calls him an idiot for forgetting that. Vlad, clearly drained, asks what that even means. The voice, irritated by his lack of understanding, gives an overly simple explanation, something you'd say to a child. Still confused, Vlad listens as the voice tries again. You're supposed to get a wham when they do a whoosh. That doesn't help either. While Vlad struggles through this cryptic coaching session, the others watch him from afar, fully convinced he's deep in prayer. The next morning, back at camp, soldiers move about, finishing their duties. When breakfast is served, Vlad receives a shady-looking bowl of soup, same as everyone else. Vlad stares at his food suspiciously. He isn't even sure the meat is actually meat. He asks what kind it is. One man shrugs with his mouth full. He doesn't know, and doesn't care. It's free. He reminds Vlad that mercenaries rarely get meals handed to them, so you don't question a free lunch. Another chimes in, saying their employers can afford it. They're the Bazids, after all. Someone else adds that yeah, it's salty, but at least it's food. Despite their efforts to get him to eat, Vlad isn't budging. He stands up, leaves the bowl untouched, and tells them they can have it if they like it so much. Then he walks off, leaving the mercenaries confused. One guesses he's gone to see the priest again. Another jokes that maybe they should start praying too. Might help their sword skills. A more blunt voice shuts that down immediately, saying he'll never be anything like the so-called praying swordsman. Not long after, Vlad arrives at the priest's tent. Father Andrea, an elderly man with wild white hair that gives him an unmistakable Einstein-like air, lights up at the sight of him. Vlad greets him politely and asks if he slept well. Andrea replies cheerfully that he always does. The priest mentions hearing about Vlad's late-night prayers in the forest and remarks on how cold it must have been. Like everyone else, he assumes Vlad is deeply devout. No one knows those prayers are actually brutal lessons delivered by the voice inside Vlad's sword. Keeping up appearances, Vlad says he didn't feel the cold. He was in the embrace of God. Andrea chuckles, saying Vlad seems more like a priest than he is. Just then, a young trainee named Jean enters, announcing that Father Andrea's breakfast is ready. Andrea thanks him and invites Vlad to join. Vlad politely declines, saying he didn't come to eat. Andrea gently nudges him into a seat anyway. The table is laid out with a warm, steaming meal. Jean and Andrea sit, and the priest begins a prayer. Jean closes his eyes with childlike reverence. Vlad hesitates, then closes his eyes too. Andrea peeks with one eye, curious, and sees Vlad smiling peacefully, every bit the faithful believer. Admirable, Andrea thinks. Even in a place like this, the boy hasn't lost his faith. Meanwhile, Vlad wonders if they should make a run for it before Sir Joseph starts asking questions. The voice suggests the Bayezid family might overlook his fake identity since he's a skilled swordsman. But even if that works for now, Vlad knows the truth will surface eventually. He killed a mercenary for stealing. When that comes out, he'll be charged with murder and impersonation. The voice mocks him, saying he's got some darkness in him after all. Vlad snaps back that the voice is just as guilty, it was involved too. With everything stacked against them, the voice proposes escaping while they still can. Self-defense only works when someone can back up your story. Vlad agrees, running in the dead of night might be their best option. He even suggests bringing his subordinate so they can secure a fake mercenary plaque. The voice thinks the plan sounds far too risky and says so. Before they can argue further, the voice suddenly goes silent, then alerts him. Someone is approaching. And whoever it is radiates the aura of at least an advanced knight. Vlad reacts instantly, grabbing his sword. When he turns, it's Sir Jaeger. The green-eyed knight looks surprised that Vlad sensed him and admits the boy is even sharper than he expected. Keeping his guard up, Vlad listens as Jaeger says Sir Joseph wants to see him. Vlad instantly regrets not arranging the meeting himself. This could spiral out of control fast if he missteps. Still, he bows calmly and says it's an honor to be summoned. Jaeger asks if Vlad was expecting him. Vlad replies that Father Andrea mentioned it, though he didn't expect it so soon. Impressed, Jaeger remarks how rare it is for someone so young not to be shaken by his presence. Then he tells Vlad to follow him. As Jaeger turns away, Vlad briefly considers running. The voice shuts that idea down immediately. Against someone like Jaeger, he wouldn't make it 3 steps. Accepting reality, Vlad follows quietly. They soon arrive at Sir Joseph's tent. Joseph greets him warmly, saying he's glad to finally meet the famed praying Ryman. Vlad bows deeply. It's an honor to stand before the second son of the Bayezid family. Joseph asks casually if everything is going well with his duties. Vlad replies that the mercenaries are grateful for his support. Then Joseph finally brings up the real issue. Vlad's blonde hair, his blue eyes. Joseph admits that at first, he suspected Vlad might be the child of a disgraced noble family. To clear the matter up, he asks bluntly, "Is your real name Ryman?" Without hesitation, Vlad answers yes. Joseph closes the blue book he's been reading and calmly remarks that Vlad should have just told the truth from the beginning. Suddenly, Sir Jaeger slaps Vlad hard across the face. Joseph states flatly that he can't stand liars. Wiping blood from the corner of his mouth, Vlad endures Jaeger's cold glare without a word. Then Joseph drops the bombshell. He already knows the boy is actually Vlad from the city of Asura. As Vlad rubs his jaw, struggling to stay composed, Joseph continues. Their investigation revealed that Vlad's mother was unmarried, and that there are no records of his father. Joseph asks if Vlad knows who his father is. The question stings. Vlad snaps back sarcastically, saying it's hilarious to ask the son of an unmarried woman something like that. Before the words even settle, Jaeger sweeps Vlad's legs out from under him. Vlad crashes to the ground with a groan. Jaeger scolds him for forgetting his manners. Burning with anger, Vlad stays silent. Joseph raises a hand, stopping Jaeger. He admits the question was inappropriate and amusing. Standing over Vlad, Joseph says he already knows why he fled from Sora. Then he asks the real question. Where did Vlad learn to fight like that? Vlad doesn't answer. He just glares back. Joseph meets his gaze, staring into those burning blue eyes, and says it's clear Vlad is hiding far too much. Suddenly, Jaeger draws his sword and strikes from behind. Vlad senses it just in time. Biting his lip, he finally speaks. He admits he had a mentor. Still kneeling, Vlad explains the man appeared out of nowhere and vanished like lightning. Joseph's interest sharpens. Vlad continues. The man never gave his name. Only a lesson, a lone warrior's undefeated secret, never to be passed on. As Vlad delivers this with unwavering conviction, Joseph is caught off guard. Silence hangs between them, then Joseph nods. Okay, he apologizes for how they treated Vlad. For a moment, Vlad wonders if his bluff actually worked. But Joseph isn't finished. He admits he's in a difficult position, and because of that, he's prepared to make Vlad of Sora an offer. Vlad listens carefully as Joseph offers his support. The scene shifts. Two men clash in a sparring match, wooden swords cracking against one another. Vlad and Sir Jaeger. Mercenaries gather around, watching in awe. One wonders how someone so young is holding his ground. Another says Jaeger must be holding back. Even so, everyone agrees, Vlad's talent is undeniable. Some feel a sting of jealousy at the bright road ahead of him. The duel intensifies. It becomes clear Jaeger is no longer going easy. He scolds Vlad mid-fight, calling him a cocky brat for speaking to Sir Joseph without proper respect while his skills are still average. To prove his point, Jaeger places one hand behind his back. He continues sparring with the other, dominating Vlad completely. With every swing, he reminds Vlad that he's just an arrogant child who hasn't earned his place. As Vlad struggles to endure the onslaught, reality sets in. Jaeger's skill is on an entirely different level. Every time Vlad dodges, another strike follows instantly, faster, heavier, nearly impossible to block. Defense alone won't work. Vlad changes tactics. When Jaeger attacks again, Vlad blocks sharply and slips his blade beneath Jaeger's. His sword comes free. He channels his energy, eyes glowing, and launches a counterattack. Jaeger blocks it. But the crowd erupts in cheers. Impressed, Jaeger smirks. For someone like you, he says, landing one decent strike is expected. Vlad pants, exhausted. He doesn't feel victorious. In his mind, he's sure Jaeger allowed that hit. Jaeger calls the match. From now on, they'll spar twice a day. Morning and evening. Vlad is horrified. One session nearly broke him. Now two. As Jaeger walks away, he casually warns Vlad not to cool down too much. Once he's gone, Vlad vents to the voice in his sword. Jaeger was vague. Unhelpful. He didn't give a single tip. The voice disagrees. It praises Jaeger's swordsmanship, pointing out how he ruthlessly shaved away all of Vlad's unnecessary movements. Sometimes, it says, getting beaten is the only way to improve. Vlad sighs. No matter where he goes, he always seems to be fighting alone. Back in Sir Joseph's tent, Jaeger gives his report. Joseph asks what he thinks of Vlad after seeing him firsthand. Jaeger admits Vlad could become a major asset. His swordsmanship is impressive enough to catch a noble's attention, maybe even a count's, if he had the right lineage. Joseph feels validated. Still, Jaeger doesn't hold back. Vlad has a serious flaw. He's arrogant. He doesn't know his place. Joseph isn't surprised. Growing up in the slums would do that to anyone. Manners can be taught, with patience. Joseph turns to Jaeger. He believes Jaeger is the right one to teach him. Jaeger stiffens, hesitant. An unreliable sword can't be trusted, he says, hinting that Vlad's loyalty is questionable. Joseph agrees. Even though Vlad bowed respectfully, Joseph still doesn't trust him. Joseph says it would be better if the boy stopped pretending, and started showing who he really is. Elsewhere, Vlad seethes. His thoughts spiral, fixated on something he believes must be done, no matter the cost. Back with Joseph, he concludes that placing Vlad under Jaeger's guidance may be the best course. A mentorship where both sides need something from each other could be more effective than force alone. Jaeger clearly dislikes the plan. But he has no choice. He must obey his lord. Joseph doesn't see Vlad as a wild wolf. At least, not yet. To him, Vlad is just an arrogant, self-centered boy. He advises Jaeger not to act too quickly. The plan is simple. Build a cage around Vlad, one so vast that the boy believes he's free, even while completely under control. Later that night, a handful of mercenaries venture into the freezing forest. They're still struggling to accept that their former captain now answers to Jaeger. Goethe regrets not trying harder to earn Jaeger's favor while he had the chance. He figures Vlad got lucky, slipping away from the expedition before winter truly set in. His thoughts are cut short when their new captain, Sir Roderick, snaps at him. ordering him to grab his axe and get back to work. Goethe resents the rigid knight. In his mind, Roderick only joined this patrol so he wouldn't have to check in again anytime soon. Hoping for rest, Goethe lies down. Then Roderick's voice wakes him. Curious, Goethe listens as Roderick speaks with a woman searching for a child. Then, silence. Alarmed, Goethe gets up. As he approaches, he sees Roderick walking away from camp, silent and stiff. What terrifies Goethe most is the filthy, unnatural aura now clinging to Roderick's body. As the knight disappears deeper into the woods, it's clear, something has taken hold of him. Elsewhere, Vlad groans, rubbing his aching shoulder. He complains that an advanced knight could have taken it easier on him. The voice in his head disagrees. Training under someone like Sir Jaeger is a rare opportunity, one many would pay dearly for. Vlad should be grateful. Vlad scoffs. Jaeger just wanted to beat him up. And honestly, that makes sense. Jaeger already sees him as an arrogant, disrespectful kid. Vlad insists the harshness was just retaliation. The voice pushes back. Harsh conditions are what make training meaningful. If you're afraid of being beaten to death, you fight harder. Vlad falls quiet for a moment, then mutters that the logic is still messed up. Just then, a whisper comes from the bushes. Vlad spins around. A figure steps out from behind a tree. It's Goethe. Vlad's surprised and asks when he returned. The rest of the expedition hasn't come back yet. Goethe doesn't answer immediately. He glances around, making sure no one's watching. Once they're alone, he speaks. He plans to sneak out of camp after nightfall. Vlad stares at him, completely baffled. He demands an explanation. Goethe dodges it, claiming he's only here out of concern, as a friend. He issues a vague warning, then casually suggests they hang out later. Vlad's confusion deepens. He starts thinking Goethe's lost his mind. But Goethe insists he's serious. He saw something in the woods. Then he drops the real bomb. The forest they're assigned to explore is cursed. Vlad is shaken, but intrigued. Goethe continues. Deserters used to be common. Now, none. Why? Because the Booth family pays well and treats their people properly. Vlad agrees. That's when Goethe twists the knife. The deserters didn't flee. He believes the forest took them. Goethe swears he saw it, ghostly figures dragging men into the trees. Vlad snaps. He smacks Goethe over the head, calling him a troublemaker for dreaming up nonsense. Goethe shouts that he's telling the truth, even as Vlad keeps hitting him. Then he blurts it out. He saw a knight taken last night. Vlad freezes. Sir Roderick. Goethe nods. And while fleeing back, he realized something else. Every missing man had black hair. Some time later, Goethe curses under his breath. His secret plan is blown. Sir Jaeger arrives on horseback with the rest of the mercenaries. Now forced to lead the way, Goethe mutters with regret. He should have run when he had the chance. As they move out, Jaeger notices Goethe's strange behavior and turns to Vlad. Do you trust him? Vlad answers honestly. No. But Goethe isn't crazy. That's enough to make Jaeger hesitate. He recalls how Joseph views this expedition as a strategic opportunity. If there's a pattern behind the disappearances, it could be valuable. Still, the detail about black hair unsettles him. Jaeger has black hair. To be certain, he asks Vlad if the claim is true. Vlad reassures him. 3 knights are already stationed at the post. Even so, as an advanced knight, Jaeger doesn't fully trust anyone else's strength. Despite his unease, he knows he must lead from the front. With Sir Roderick gone, someone capable has to step up. Lost in thought, Jaeger is snapped back to reality when Goethe announces they've reached the expedition camp. There, they meet Erwin, who introduces himself as Roderick's subordinate. Jaeger questions him. Has the entire forest been searched? Erwin confirms it. Nothing was found. Not even the veteran ex-hunters could find a single footprint. That settles it. Jaeger knows there's no avoiding it. He'll have to search the woods himself. Still on horseback, he orders the mercenaries to split into groups of 3 and cover as much ground as possible. The men obey immediately, scattering into the forest. Later, Goethe finally explodes. He accuses Vlad of betraying him. Furious, he insists he came in good faith, only to be treated like a fool. Vlad brushes it off, telling him to focus on the mission. He promises to make it up to him later. Eventually, the two run into Jaeger. The knight asks at once if they found anything. Vlad answers no. Jaeger snaps, calling them useless country bumpkins. Vlad fires back that he's from a city. That catches Jaeger's attention. How do city folk track missing people? He asks. Vlad shrugs. Easy. You beat someone until they talk. That answer doesn't inspire confidence. If anything, it convinces Jaeger further that Vlad is hopeless. As the exchange ends, Jaeger notices the sun dipping toward the horizon. Nightfall is coming fast. He considers calling the search off, then spots a river nearby. Has anyone searched past that? He asks. Goethe admits they haven't. The expedition's path never crossed it. Jaeger pieces it together. They've combed the forest twice and found nothing. If there's still no sign of Sir Roderick, or the strange woman Gerda mentioned, then they're looking in the wrong place. Decision made. Jaeger calls everyone together and announces they'll be crossing the river. He tests the ice with his boot. Not fully frozen. Vlad figures winter must already be ending. Still, it looks solid enough to cross. Jaeger agrees, but orders them to split into smaller groups for safety. Other mercenaries gather around Gerda, assuming he's finally found Sir Roderick. He quickly shuts that down. That's when Jaeger announces the new plan. They'll widen the search by crossing the river. He admits the ice isn't fully stable and divides them into 3 groups to cross more carefully. No one objects. They move. Boots crunch against frozen water as the groups step onto the river. As they advance, Gerda starts acting strange. Vlad notices immediately. "What's wrong?" he asks. Gerda hesitates, then admits something feels off. The same sinking feeling as before. Vlad scoffs, calling him scared. Gerda doesn't deny it. He knows he's not on the same level as Vlad or Jaeger. That's why he has to trust his instincts. His gut is screaming danger. "If I were you," he says, "I wouldn't cross." Vlad studies him for a moment. Then speaks coldly. He might not understand intuition, but he knows one thing for sure. If Gerda runs now, he's dead. Not from whatever lies ahead, from Vlad himself. He warns him not to try escaping. Gerda is their only lead. Shaken, Gerda falls silent. Vlad gives one last command. Forget the gut feeling. The only way Gerda survives is by crossing that river. Vlad steps onto the ice and orders him to follow. Gerda hasn't changed his mind, but he has no choice. He moves forward with the others, every step trembling as if the ice might collapse at any moment. Vlad quickly loses patience with his whining. He snaps that if the ice doesn't break, he'll smash it himself and toss Gerda in if he doesn't shut up. Panicking, Gerda drops to the ice and starts crawling, desperate to avoid cracking it. He mutters that he can't do it. Fed up, Vlad grabs him by the collar and yanks him upright. They're the only ones left behind. As Vlad pulls him to his feet, Gerda suddenly screams. A scream filled with pure terror. Vlad's anger turns to confusion. Then he looks down. Bodies, frozen beneath the ice. Gerda completely loses it, shrieking so loud the rest of the squad hears him. "There are corpses in the river!" And then, the frozen bodies begin to rise. Cracks spiderweb across the ice. Chaos erupts. Mercenaries scramble toward the shore, but it's too late. The ice shatters. The dead burst through, clawing their way out of the river. The squad is trapped, surrounded by the undead. Panicked eyes turn to Sir Jaeger. And in that moment, he understands. This was never an accident. The undead weren't wandering. They were waiting, ambushed in the dead of night, in a place no living soul should tread. As Vlad, Jaeger, and the mercenaries braced themselves against the rising horde, the scene cuts away. Back at the main camp, the priest kneels in prayer, thanking the Lord for his protection. The priest asks for divine guidance, to keep them walking the path of light. Suddenly, he stops mid-prayer. The boy senses something wrong and looks up. Before the priest can respond, the ground trembles. Water in a nearby chalice ripples, then rises, floating in midair. The priest stares in horror as the dark liquid swirls on its own. A thick fog rolls into the camp. From within it, a mysterious woman emerges. Wrapped in shadow, she drifts silently through the mist, wandering, searching, calling for her child. Back on the frozen battlefield, all hell has broken loose. The living clash with the dead in a brutal, desperate struggle. The worst part is the man they were searching for, Sir Roderick, has already turned. Now he's one of them. The undead knight lets out a monstrous roar and lunges straight for Gerda. Instead of defending himself or running, Gerda unleashes a high-pitched scream, as if that might somehow save him. Before Roderick can strike, Vlad steps in. His blade flashes, cutting through Roderick just in time. But the moment the blow lands, more undead surge forward, closing in fast. Vlad braces himself. His eyes grow cold and sharp, glowing faintly as he settles into a flawless stance. In a blink he moves. His sword dances like lightning, tearing through the oncoming horde. Limbs scatter, heads fly, bodies collapse. All the while, Gerda keeps screaming like he's about to pass out. Vlad's had enough. He curses under his breath and snaps at Gerda, calling him a useless brat and ordering him to grab a spear and fight. Gerda whimpers, shaking his head. He can't. He's too terrified to face the dead. Vlad grits his teeth. In the middle of a battle, Gerda is nothing but a burden. Just as Vlad's frustration peaks, the voice in his head cuts in, calm, steady, focus, choose a direction if you want to escape. Vlad follows the advice and looks ahead. Only to see 3 undead climbing out of the river, eyes locked onto him. Any hope of pushing forward vanishes, and with Jaeger nowhere in sight, a new fear creeps in. Is he even still alive? Elsewhere on the frozen battlefield, Sir Jaeger cuts through the undead with brutal efficiency, like chopping vegetables. But even a knight of his caliber has limits. When one of his men is dragged down right in front of him, torn apart by walkers, Jaeger understands the truth. This wave isn't stopping. Whoever orchestrated this knew exactly what they were doing. Jaeger doesn't know who the mastermind is, but he knows who the real target is. Something shifts. A green glow flickers beneath his eye patch. His sword ignites with the same eerie light. Jaeger activates his aura. Eye and blade burn together as power surges through him. Then he releases it. In a single, blinding eruption of force, he obliterates the undead surrounding him. The sheer power halts the nearby mercenaries mid-fight. They stare in awe. They're fighting beside a legend. Inspired, their morale surges. Amid the chaos, Jaeger shouts Vlad's name. Locked in his own battle, Vlad hears him clearly. Fending off the undead, Vlad yells back, asking what he needs. Jaeger's command is simple. Defend the right flank. Protect young Master Joseph at all costs. That's the contract. Vlad doesn't hesitate. He carves through the remaining undead, forcing a path forward. As he moves, he calls back to Gerda to follow. The mercenary scrambles behind him, begging Vlad not to leave him behind. Behind them, Jaeger's glowing eye burns brighter, green flames flickering beneath the patch. The veteran knight offers a silent prayer. Make it in time, he thinks. Protect the young master. This knight is the real thing. Even surrounded by undead clawing at him, his mind holds only one goal. Protection. He dives back into the fray, cutting down the dead without pause. Then, a low growl rumbles behind him. Jaeger senses it instantly. He spins, locking eyes with the zombified form of Sir Roderick. Jaeger offers a quiet apology for not saving him sooner. But it's far too late. Back at the main camp, young Master Joseph sits inside his tent, a book in hand, clearly bored. His thoughts are elsewhere. Suddenly, a shout pierces the air. Joseph looks up. Someone yells again, telling something to stay back. His expression hardens. Something is wrong. The camp is under attack. But before he can leave, someone bursts into the tent. Sir Joseph! It's Vorden. Joseph demands to know what's happening, but Vorden is too out of breath to explain. He stammers uselessly. Joseph's irritation flares. How could he rush in without even understanding the situation? Trying to recover, Vorden claims he came to ensure Joseph's safety. Joseph isn't fooled. He points to the empty sheath on Vorden's belt. On any other day, Joseph says coldly, he would have had him executed for such stupidity. Vorden panics, immediately begging for mercy. Before things escalate further, Father Andrea enters the tent with several men. Joseph turns to him, asking what's happening. But Andrea answers before the question is finished. Something wicked has entered the camp. He opens his holy book and urges Joseph to look. The sacred ink shifts across the pages, writing as if alive. Joseph stares in disbelief. The text is moving. He looks to Andrea. The priest admits the truth. This is no ordinary book. Unease settles in Joseph's chest. He asks if there's any way to stop what's coming. Andrea answers solemnly. He's no exorcist. Still, he'll call upon every ounce of divine power he has to push the evil back. But even then, this darkness may be beyond him. Joseph weighs his options. The remaining knights may not be the strongest, but they're all he has. He stands and issues a sharp command. The knights fall in behind him immediately, faces set with resolve. As Joseph steps outside the tent, the sight before him steals his breath. A thick, ghostly fog blankets the entire camp. But this isn't fog. It invades the mind, hijacking bodies like puppets. There's no doubt anymore. This is the work of the mysterious woman. The men stagger and twitch, their voices no longer their own. A spirit speaks through them, calling them her children. They struggle, trying to resist, but there's no fighting something not of this world. Covering his mouth and nose, Joseph turns to Father Andrea. Does this fog drive people mad? He asks. The priest shakes his head slowly. He doesn't know exactly how it works, but he knows one thing for certain. It's not natural, Andrea says gravely, and the effects come fast. Joseph inhales despite himself. A voice slips into his mind, soft, eerie, calling him child. Around him, the others feel it too. One by one, whispers creep into their thoughts. Then, she appears. Long black hair. Ghostly and searching, she moves through the fog, scanning every corner of the camp. Where's my child? She whispers. Her gaze locks onto Joseph. The moment her eyes meet his, panic ripples through the men. They freeze, unable to look away from the horrifying figure. Joseph remains silent. Handkerchief clenched tight. Unable to move. The witch's blackened eyes widen. Her twisted mouth stretches unnaturally as she lets out a shriek of glee. She's found her child. And she means Joseph. She lunges, arms outstretched, desperation dripping from her voice. Just before she reaches him, a glowing barrier snaps into existence. Father Andrea drops to his knees, locked in fervent prayer, summoning a divine shield between Joseph and the witch. Behind him, young Jean is breaking down, sobbing, screaming in terror. Inside the barrier, Joseph's thoughts race. Sir Jaeger might be the only one capable of stopping this thing. And that thought isn't baseless. 2 of his strongest knights, Cade and Maxim, are already dead. Even Father Andrea's blessings weren't enough to save them. The witch hammers against the barrier again and again, convinced her child is on the other side. Her hand pushes through the shield. It burns, flesh blackens and peels away. She doesn't stop. Joseph watches in horror as a realization takes hold. This isn't random. This is a curse, crafted specifically for him. Andrea strains, pouring everything he has into holding the barrier. Then Jean suddenly coughs. Blood spills from his lips. Andrea falters. He turns to the boy, panic flashing across his face, but he softens his voice. "The sun will shine on you again," he says gently. Jean, shaking and bleeding, forces himself upright and begins singing holy hymns. Their courage is undeniable. But Joseph can see it. Andrea is weakening. The hymns won't last forever. Time is slipping away. Waiting for sunrise is impossible. It feels like eternity. Then something cuts through the fog. A familiar figure soars forward, sword blazing bright blue, blonde hair, blue eyes. Vlad. He launches straight at the witch, blade raised to strike. She doesn't see him. Her focus is entirely on Joseph. But just before Vlad strikes, the voice speaks. She's bound by curse. An ordinary blade won't harm her. Vlad halts midair and ducks behind a rock. "What do we do?" he whispers urgently. The voice asks a question in return. "Can you channel aura right now?" "No," Vlad answers immediately. The voice pauses, confused. Then it admits there's another way. Vlad demands to know what it is. The answer stops him cold. The voice asks to borrow his body. Possession. It's the only way to confront the witch directly. Vlad hesitates. "Is that even possible?" The voice explains. It can control aura, but it doesn't know if it can manifest it properly through Vlad's body. And even if it succeeds, Vlad may not be able to move afterward. In a battle like this, that's lethal. The voice warns him again. It's dangerous. But Vlad doesn't hesitate. If he doesn't stop her, he's dead anyway. That's enough. He gives his consent. The sword's path is full of danger, but he's chosen it. He gave his word to Joseph. And now, his purpose is clear. This isn't just loyalty. It's conviction. The voice acknowledges his resolve. The plan begins. Vlad leaps toward the witch again. This time, she senses him. She turns. As Vlad streaks through the air, the voice takes control. "Close your right eye." He obeys. Everything shifts. Vlad's awareness drifts into what the voice calls the world of voices. His body begins to glow. The sword erupts with light, pure aura flooding through it. In an instant, Vlad flashes forward and slashes through the witch as if she were nothing but mist. The onlookers gasp. Stunned. But Vlad doesn't stand triumphant. He collapses. Dropping to his knees, screaming in agony. The voice continues pouring overwhelming waves of power through his body, tearing at him from the inside. Joseph cries out when he sees Vlad fall. But before he can reach him, Vlad's eyes roll white. His body goes limp. Silence. Joseph knows what he witnessed. That was aura. How Vlad managed it, he doesn't know. But the price. The price must have been immense. Then the witch stirs. She rises again. Her voice echoes through the fog as she calls out for her missing child. Vlad can't move. Still reeling from the possession, the witch reaches toward him, trying to reclaim what she believes belongs to her. Joseph doesn't hesitate. He shouts for Father Andrea not to stop the hymns, then bolts from the safety of the barrier, ignoring the priest's cries and the shouts of the others behind him. He reaches Vlad and hooks an arm around him, pulling him upright. "Lean on me," he urges. Vlad groans, every breath a struggle, but he manages to stand. Together, the two of them stagger away, step by painful step. The witch isn't finished. Furious that her child is slipping away again, she lunges and grabs Joseph's leg. Her grip is iron. Joseph fights, trying to tear free, but it's useless. Panic and frustration flood his chest. In that moment, he feels utterly helpless. Useless. Just as she begins dragging him back, Borden crashes in from behind. He seizes Joseph's cloak and yanks with everything he has, pulling both Joseph and Vlad out of the witch's grasp. With a final, desperate heave, he throws them toward the priest's side, collapsing to one knee afterward. The witch shrieks, rage and heartbreak blending into a sound that chills the soul. Joseph hits the ground hard. He looks up and smiles. For the first time, truly, genuinely. He turns his head toward Vorden and thanks him. Vlad moves again, slowly, painfully. He reaches for his sword. His body is barely holding together, every movement screaming in protest, but it doesn't stop him. He looks to Father Andrea. Bless it, Vlad says quietly. I'm going back. Andrea doesn't question him. With solemn resolve, the priest presses his hand against the blade's edge. It cuts deep. Blood runs freely, coating the steel as Andrea completes the blessing. When he's finished, he presents the sword to Vlad. It carries divine power now, he says. Vlad takes it without hesitation. Thank you. Then he turns and walks back into the fray. Behind him, Father Andrea and Jean watch in silence, praying not just for victory, but for Vlad's safe return. The witch lies battered on the ground when Vlad reaches her. Motionless. Broken. She doesn't beg for mercy. Instead, her voice trembles with desperation. She begs him to find her child. Not to spare her, but to end her search. And then, Vlad sees it. Her memories crash into his mind. Women trapped in a pitch-black prison. Children torn from their arms. Cold stone floors. Iron bars. Mothers screaming, reaching through metal that won't bend, watching their children freeze to death just beyond their grasp. The vision burns into him. For the first time, Vlad sees beyond the monster. Beyond the curse. She isn't just a witch. She's grief made flesh. Endless mourning. Endless searching. But it has to end. Vlad steadies his hands. Raises his sword. And drives it through her skull. Rest, he whispers. As her blood trickles down the blade, her twisted features soften. The curse peels away. She becomes human again. Tears stream down her face as she looks up at Vlad. And for the first time, her eyes are peaceful. As if she finally sees her child.